Hello all, welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In this session, we are going to cover about Apex classes in Salesforce. So now we have successfully moved to development, that is customization in Salesforce. We have two types of customization. One is declarative customization, one more is programmatic customization. So whatever we have done by using point and click or by using out of box tools in Salesforce, those we used to call as a declarative customization. Now we have moved to programmatic customization. So while doing the customization, we have to write something called Apex class. So this Apex class is similar to Java. So whatever the Java concepts you are using, you will be using the same thing over here, but there is a little variation in syntax. So Apex class, it's purely following the object-oriented concepts. We can see the object-oriented concepts in later on. So if you know the object-oriented concepts already, that would be well and good. So why we are using Apex class? Because we can solve the complex validations, we can solve the business logics, we can handle the transactional flows, we can write a custom business logics, and we can do web service callouts with third parties. We can do much and more things by using the Salesforce Apex classes. And let's see a small demo how we can open an Apex class and how we can start to write the code. So here you can see the setup. So in setup, you just need to select developer console, and the developer console will be open here. So this would be your initial page. Now, if you wanted to test any code without writing any classes, so consider that I just wanted to test a piece of code whether it is working properly or not. So here you have a place where you can write that codes. The place name is execute anonymous window. So by using the anonymous window, you can just test a piece of code and you can execute and you can check it out. So I'm opening this. So this is the place if you wanted to check, you can check it out. For example, we are using in C, we are using printf, in C out, I mean in C++, we are using C out. In Java, we are using system.out.println. In .NET, we are using like console.write line. So like that, in Salesforce, we have something called system.debug. So which will help you to print the lines or which will help you to print the messages. So like this, you can run and execute. So here I'm selecting the open log file. So by opening this file, we can see how the execution happens from the beginning to end. So I'm selecting just execute. So it is successfully executed. And here the debug only you can click just to see the debug messages. Whatever we wanted to see the print, if you wanted to see that one, you need to see the debug. You need to click the debug. Here you can see whatever we have written, it would be printed. So here you can see, so it is starting with the user who has executed, who has initiated this execution. So from there, here you can see this code execution will start and code unit will start. So within the code unit, it will do some heap allocations and it will count some limits and later it will get finished. So this is a cycle how the debug is exactly working. So while writing debug, you have few other options. Suppose consider that I have one more line. I am just giving first line and I'm just giving some second lines. So now if you just execute, you can see both the lines over there. Now I wanted to execute a specific line. So what you can do is you can just go ahead and select and then click execute highlighted. So it will just execute only the highlighted message. So now if I'm not enabling this open log, what will happen is this execution log will not open. So on that time, what I need to do is once you click the execution, so here, whichever the time you have executed on that specific time, there is one log got generated. So you need to double click that log and you need to select this debug only and you can see the message. So in case if you are not selected this box, this is how you need to open it. So let's see one another session on more in Apex classes in Salesforce. Thank you. Hello, welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In last session, we have seen about how to execute a small statements by using anonymous code window. So now we are going to write a small class and we are just going to see how the classes can be written. So to write what suppose first of all we want to know what is a class. Class is a kind of blueprint. Like suppose if you take a auditorium, so auditorium is like a blueprint. So the whole auditorium, it is like occupying the whole space. So if you wanted to design something, so you just have some ideas to create that one. So that kind of certain things where you can put inside the class. So now to define the class, we have to follow this syntax. First, we need to specify the access specifier and we need to write something called class and we need to write class name. And inside that, you can write the list of statements and you need to close this brace. Curly brackets, I mean, you need to open the curly braces over here and you need to open the curly brace, close the curly braces. And so the important thing is, so in Salesforce, whenever you write a class, so it must be like a public or global when you write this as a top level class. So let's see how we can write the class. So in last session, we have discussed about this statement. I mean this system.debug statements. So these are the list of statements. So now I'm trying to open a class. So here you have a two ways to write a class. One, here you can go to setup. So under setup, you can just find Apex class. So click Apex classes from the quick find. So where it would be listed the list of classes available in Salesforce. Now I am trying to create a new class. So you can write access specifier would be the first one. So public and class should come and you need to write any class name. So I'm currently writing employee info and this would be the class name and open and close curly brackets. So inside that one, so this slash is representing the comment lines which is not countable. So this is for your reference. If you wanted to write something inside your coding, you can just write it. This is just a statements, not to execute any statements. And the statement should be ends with always whatever you're writing inside the class, it should be ends with semicolon. So I'm just doing the quick save. So class got saved. And if you write save, it will come out from the class and you can see the moment you saved, this class name is automatically taken by Salesforce. Now, so I'm going to create a class by using developer console. So here you can go and select new and you can select the Apex class. You can give some class names and you can select OK. So here this public class and this class names automatically came and then open bracket and close bracket. So this is how you need to create the classes. So inside the classes, if you wanted to write statements, you can write it. So however you're declaring the variables in C or in Java, in the same way, even in Salesforce need to do. So, but there is a little syntax variation. So you can follow up with the upcoming videos to know more about variables and data types. So for now, example data types and variables I'm just giving right now. If I wanted to give any customer info, what are the details I need? I definitely need some customer numbers and I definitely need some customer names and customer phone number and customer email ID. So like that, we have so many things with the customers. So let's see how to declare it. So first you need to write data type. So which data type you wanted to take. So I'm taking as integer. So integer is a data type. Now customer ID. I'm just giving as ID. Customer ID this and I'll take string customer name and I'll take one more status. So Boolean, it's a kind of returning true or false data type. I'll make it as like is active is a variable, so I can store only true or false in this. So if you wanted to store any values, you can store it. So like you have two ways to store the values. So the first one is if you take customer ID, this is an integer. If you wanted to store any integers, you can just give equals and you can store it. So this is the ID. So if you wanted to store any name, you can store it. So I'll just give some name John Smith. And so here there would be a problem. So what is the problem is it's showing as unexpected token. I'll just give semicolon over here and I'm just saving it. Error customer ID. Let's check on this. So here you need to give access specifier whenever you give variables. In case if you're not giving access variable, this will be treated as a private. So let's talk more about on variables or access specifier in later classes. So now if I wanted to assign any values, I can assign it directly also. So I'm just giving it as 1 to 1. So I'll just save it. Now it has taken. So I'm wanted to assign any names. I'll start to assign John Smith. Now here John is a private variable and active is also a private variable. And the third one here I can save either true or false. You cannot store any other values. So I'm saving true, it got saved. Now I'm trying to store some other values. It will show some errors. So it cannot acceptable other values. It can accept false, but it will not accept other values. So how we can find whether this program is saved or not? So here you can see the customer info APX is there. Now I'll just try to declare one more variable. It's string email. I'll just declare it. So here you can see there is a small asterisk symbol. I'll assign one email ID also. Test at 123.com. So here you can see there is a small asterisk symbol. That means this program is not saved. The moment you press Control S, this asterisk symbol will go off. That means this program got saved. So this is a small program how you can work with classes, and inside the classes how you can define the members. And so thing is, when you're using any strings, so it must be enclosed with single quotes. And here, instead of using ID, it would be best if you are using number. So because we have a specific data type called customer, you can say it's a ID data type itself. Like, so you can use public. ID is also a data type, and you can use customer ID, and here you can store any IDs. In case if you're not assign any values to a specific variable, here customer ID, customer name, customer number is active, email, all are variables. In case if you are not storing any variables over here, I mean if you're not storing any values to your variables, by by default Salesforce will consider these variables as a null values. So if you're assigning any values, that values will be assigned to that specific variable. In case if you're not assigning these values, so it will be considered as a null values. So let's see more about classes and remaining things in upcoming sessions. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video. Hello all. Welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In this session, we are going to cover about Salesforce methods. So, what is the Apex method would be used in Salesforce? So, it's actually actions if you wanted to perform any specific actions that you can specify inside the methods. For example, if you wanted to save any records, if you wanted to cancel anything, if you wanted to delete, or if you wanted to do any actions, or if you wanted to send emails, all those actions you need to perform inside the methods. So that is why how methods is used. So to write the methods, first you need to write access specifier, like how the access specifier is method in the we mentioned in the class. So you can specify the access specifier here. And next you have to mention static. In case if you're not mentioning static, by default it will be considered as a non-static. In case if you're not mentioning the access specifier, by default it will be taking it as private. And you need to write return type. Either we have two types, we have so many return types. Without return type we used to call something called void. That is, void means there is no return type. And apart from that, if you wanted to mention any return type like variables, we have seen right in last class. So if you wanted to do integer return type, you can return integers, you can return strings. So it is based on the requirement how you're writing it. So after that you need to write method name as such, like we are writing a class name, in the same way you have to write it. And inside the methods, within open brackets and closed brackets, rounded brackets, if you wanted to pass any parameters, you can pass it. And inside the curly braces, as usual, you can write your own statements. So in last class, we have spoke about access specifiers. The access specifier, which we are having four types of access specifiers. While writing the class, only public and global access specifier as allowed. But in top level, whenever you're writing a top level um queues, like if you take the class, the top level type must be public or global. So whenever you write class, it should be public or global. But whenever you write methods, it can be anything like public, private, protected, or global. So public in the sense, so the scope within the org it would be available. So those variables you cannot access outside. I mean, you can able to access within the org. You can access within any classes, but you cannot able to access outside organization. So private means even within the org also you cannot access from one class to another class. That is called private. Protected means in case if a class, suppose consider that we have a parent class and account child class. So in child classes we can able to access some parent class variables. So on that time protected will work. So protected will also similar to private. It cannot be accessed to any other classes apart from the derived classes or child classes. And then fourth one is global. So if you mention a variable as global, so those variables can be accessed inside the class or outside the class or outside the org. It can be accessed anytime. So let's see a small example on methods. So in last session, we have written these classes. Now I'm trying to write some methods. So this method will just print something. So I'm just writing this method over here. I'm not going, okay, let it be. So if you wanted to write any methods, you need to write any access specifier and then you need to write either static or non-static. If you're mentioning static, it will treat as a static. So we'll see how the static is using in the next class. So as of now, I am writing non-static methods. Public void should be a return type. So instead of void, you can use any other return types like integer, like strings, or you can use it anything. And you can use any method name. Like I'm using it as uh, display customer info and open bracket, close bracket. If you wanted to pass any parameters, inside you can pass any parameters. So here you can write the list of statements. For example, I'll just give system dot debug customer ID. And whenever you wanted to print the customer ID from the class, you need to use plus symbol and you need to use that variable. So I'm just printing like this. And if you wanted to print any other variables, you can just go ahead and you can print it. And here I am trying to print customer name. So here you can print customer name. So you can note that I am not given any customer IDs and I am not giving any customer. I have given customer name. So this is how you need to write the methods. In the next session, we'll see how we can call these methods by using the objects. So thanks for watching this video. Let's see you on another session. Hello all. Welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In this session, we are going to talk about Salesforce Objects. So it is not a objects which we have seen in earlier admin classes. It is a Apex Objects. So these objects, whenever you talk about objects, so why we are using because um, if you wanted to call any methods from the classes, you need to use objects. So without objects, you cannot call the methods. And for example, so while we have talking about class, so I said something called blueprint. So if you take a auditorium, so the complete set of structure of auditorium, which is called a blueprint. So inside the auditorium, you can see chairs, fans, tables. So those things you can make it as you can consider it as objects. So like that, whichever the parameters or whichever the variables or whichever the members which they are inside the class, if you wanted to call those, if you wanted to access or if you wanted to call those methods, you need to go for a objects. So here when you're writing the objects, so you can consider objects is a reference for a class or entity of a class. So writing an object without parameters is you need to write class name and you need to specify the object name and you need to give equal symbol and you need to give new keyword and you need to specify the class name again ends with open brackets and close bracket and terminated with semicolon. And if you wanted to call that method, you need to use the created object name along with the method. So in the same way, if you wanted to call with parameters, just need to share the parameters list inside the brackets. So let's see a small demo how to use Apex objects. So now in last class we have seen something how to use the methods. So let's see how to call this method. So before that, so we were talking about some public private protected, right? So now I have another class. So consider that I have a class name um, customer child info. So this is the consider that this is the class name. So this is another class. Now I have some variables like public or if you want to have any variables, you can have list of variables over here. So let's talk about the access specifier. Now, if I'm using public any customer child number, so this is considered that integer. So now it is integer. Now this child info can be accessed inside this class or inside this class. So anywhere you can access this variable. In case if I made this as a private, y- this variable can be accessed within this class. Now if I'm using it as protected and I saved it. So this is saved. Now this variable will be accessed here till now. So if I wanted to access this variable in this class, I just need to use extend keyword along with this class name. So if I use the extend keywords along with this class name, so this protected variable can be accessed in the derived classes also. So now this class is extending this customer info class. So the scope of the variable can be with this class and also for this class also. So this is how protected will work. In case if I make this as global, I can access within this class and I can access within this class. Even outside Salesforce, if I have any classes, I can access over there. Okay. Now let's talk about more on methods. So let's go and execute this one. So if you wanted to call any methods, first you need to create a objects. So to create a objects, we have a syntax called class name, C object and equals new class name and ends with semicolon. So and you need to use this object name dot method name. So here the method name is display customer info ends with semicolon. So, and you can execute it. So here you can see customer ID is null because we haven't assigned any value. and the customer name is John Smith, so it is displaying properly. So this is how you can utilize the methods in Salesforce. So if you wanted to create one more object, you can create and you can call it one more time. So, but there should be a different in object name. It will call twice. So here you can see. So this is how you can utilize the objects in Salesforce. So let's see you on another session. Thank you. Have a great day. Hello all, welcome to CRS Info Solutions. So in this session, we are going to see about how we need to use the static methods and how we can call it out. And along with the parameters, we can cover it. So in last session, we have seen about how to call the methods by using the objects. So in this session, we can see about how to use the static methods. So let's directly start with the demo. So now here we have created an object and we have called the method. So now if I go back to the program, I'm making this method as static. So if I make this method as static, now I just don't need to use this. I just don't need to create the object names, and I can directly go with the method name along with the class name. So I'm just going to use the class name dot method name. I'm not going to do anything. So if you execute this, mm, mm, just a moment, I'll just save this one. So let me take this one. So customer ID variable does not exist. So we'll just take all those things and we can keep it inside also. Let's remove the public because it is not allowed in locals. Save it. Okay. So now we have a class. Under the class we have a methods and we have a data members like variables and we have execution statements. So all those things we have and we are just going to execute this. So can you see this? So if you're using static keyword, so without using the object, you can directly call the methods. So this is how you can use the static methods in Salesforce. Thanks for watching this video. Let's see you on another session. Welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In this session, we are going to cover about constructors in Apex. So constructors is a kind of uh, special type of concept which we have in Salesforce. Not only in Salesforce, it is there in all the programming languages like Java, C, C++, and even in .NET. So let's see how to use the constructors. And before going to that, we just need to aware of the specific rules. So when you are using constructors, the rules name and the rules is like class name and method name should be same, and there should not be any written type of a specific constructors. That is, we should not use void, we should not use integer, we should not use anything. And this is the syntax. You need to use access specifier, you need to use access specifier, and you need to use class name. And inside that class, you need to use access specifier along with the method name you will be using it previously. Instead of using method name, whichever the name you used it for class, you have to use the same name again, and inside you need to pass with parameters or without parameters. So in last session we have seen methods with parameters, and in same way we can pass the parameters to constructors, and we can see it, and we can see the methods with parameters also, and you can use the statements inside this. And when you call the constructors, right, you just don't need to create any methods by just using the class name, object name equals new class. If you try to create a objects, it will directly call the specific constructor. It will directly call the specific methods. So let's see how to use the constructor. Okay. So before going to constructor, we can see just how to use the um, methods with parameters. So let's remove all those informations. I'm using without static, and this is non-static method, and I'll just use the parameters. I'll just use integer, um, customer customer number. Now here we don't have anything called customer number. That's why it's showing error. Now I'll just try to print customer number. So now, so when you're calling a method, you will be creating objects. So this is class name, object name equals new class name, and object name dot, you will be having a method name, and you can call it. So previously we don't have any um, parameters. Now we have parameters. This is without return type, we have parameters. So now you can pass the customer number over here. So let's see, I'll pass 1 2 3 4 5. Let's ends with semicolon and execute this. Customer info, object name, it's showing customer name as construct. Okay, so this must be passed over here inside the method. So here you can see the output. So whichever the informations you are passing in this place, so that will actually call the method, and it will be passed inside the method, and it will get printed to you. So this values is passing over here, and it's just printing. So you can write the n number of lines inside this methods, and you can print the values. So this is how you can pass the parameters to the methods. Now let's talk about constructors. So while using constructors, I have informed you there is a two rules. So one, there should not be any return types, and the method name and this constructor name, this class name would be the same. So now you just don't need to create any methods. You can just call, this is a parameterized constructor where we are passing one value. So you can just pass the values over here, and you can execute it. So it will call the method. So you can try even without parameters, and I am not passing any parameters over here. And here, if you wanted to give any values for customer info, You can give it so customer integer customer number equals 1010 and save it, and you can execute this. It will call. So this is the use of constructors. So if you are using class name and method name same without any parameters, I mean without any return types, and here while executing the program in anonymous code window without creating any objects, I mean without calling any methods, if you just create an object, so that will actually call your constructor. So this is how the constructor will work. So thanks for watching. Let's see you on another session. Hello all, welcome to CRS Info Solutions. So in this session, we are going to cover about collections in Salesforce. So collections, it is a kind of uh, managing a huge number of records, or you can say managing the huge number of values. So while using integers or while using strings, we can store only one value at a variable. So by using the concepts called arrays or collections, you can store multiple values in a single variable. So let's see how to use the collections. And before that, there are three types of collections available. One is list, and second one is set, third one is map. So list, it is a kind of ordered and it will allow duplicates. And set, it is kind of will not follow any orders and it also won't allow duplicates. So map, it is a kind of key value pair. So let's see the list collection, how to use that one. So while defining list, you need to use the list, and inside that you need to use the data type, either integer or string, or either if you wanted to use accounts or if you wanted to use contacts. So even that you can use it. So it's not only data type, it will allow objects also. That means Salesforce objects. I mean, so accounts, contacts, or any custom objects, anything can be allowed inside this. And you can define any object name for that is equals new data type, whatever the data type it is there, you need to define the same and ends with open bracket and close bracket. However, you are defining, however, you are creating an object in a similar way, you need to create a object for list also with the word list. So these are the some methods which is available for list. So let's see few methods and let's see how to use it. Okay, so now, so let's change this as again. mm, so customer list I'll use as customer list. So I'm just keeping it as customer list method, and inside I'm trying to create the list. And before that I am making this it as static, so every time I don't need to create any uh, objects for this specific method. So let's see how to use the list. While using list, you need to use the list word. Along with that, you need to use data type. For now I'm using integer, and here I can use integer list equals new list of integer and open bracket close bracket. So list is defined. So now I want to add the elements inside the list. So for that, we can use add method. So you need to use the object name dot add of mm, 10, and you can use add of 20. So right now I have two elements inside the list. So if I wanted to print this list, I need to use system.debug elements inside list. So I'm using this symbol, and you can just give one plus symbol and just paste this list object name, list reference name. So this will make you to print the list. So now let's see and let's execute how it is working. So customer info, since I'm using static methods, I can just use dot symbol and I can call this method. See, these are the list of elements available inside the list. So now I'm creating one more list. So I'm just changing this as integer list 1. So now I'll create one more list inside list 1. This is inside list 2. I'm changing this as 2, and this as 2, 2, and change this as 2. So right now we have two lists. So if you check, you will be having two lists. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm just adding one more element in the integer list as 30, and here I don't have any elements. So what I'm doing is I'm using a function called add all of list 1. So this will help me to copy the elements from list 1 to list 2. So let's execute and see. So this is the use of add all method. And if you wanted to sort anything, I'll just give sort sort over here. And here what I'm doing is I'll just make this as 30, this as 20, and this as 10. 1 second. So instead of giving here, first dot sort. Let execute and see. See here the elements without sorting order. This is with sorting order. And like this, we can use empty methods, we can use get methods, we can use remove method, we can use clear. We can use clear and we can use equals. So by using those things, we can make use of the list, whichever based on the requirements, whichever the wanted to see the output based on that you can use it. Suppose if I'm using clear instead of sort, if I'm making it as clear, I'll just try to execute. You can see the empty list over there. So see here. So instead of clear, if you're using is empty, uh, so it will return you either true or false. So you should not use this one here. So now let's execute and see. So see here it's showing false because it's having the list of elements. It contains the elements 30, 20, and 10 right now by using the add all method. So, so this is how you can use the various methods inside the list. So thank you. Thanks for watching. Let's see you on another session. Hello all. Welcome to CRS Info Solutions. In this session, we are going to cover about set. So the major difference between list and set is, so list will actually preserves the insertion order. So in last example, we have inserted 10, 20, and 30. So which is not change the locations. The locations would remain the same. But when you are using sets, it will not save your insertion order, the order would be different. It will be storing anywhere inside the memory space. And while accessing the methods from the list, it will totally varies when you're using it set. So, but you can use add all, so Boolean, and those methods, whichever you're using inside the list, you can use it. But based on index, whichever the methods are there in the list which cannot be used in the set. So let's see a small demo how to use the set. So now in last session we have used this list. Now I am changing this as set. I am giving this as set. This is also set, and this is set list 1, and this is set list 2, and set list 1, set list 2, set list 3. Okay, set list 2. Somewhere I left. So now, like this, you can use it. Right now, I have a list of elements inside the set 1. So, which I'm inserting by first element is 30, second element is 20, and third element is 10. So let's check and execute. So here, it is not preserves any order. By default, it is storing in ascending order. It is in sorting order. So you cannot use any sort methods inside the set, or by using index, you cannot call anything, you cannot get any elements. So like this, this is specific 1 second set. This is also a set. Okay, so let execute. And there's one more. Small correction, let me correct it. Close. So here I'm just changing it as set 1, set 2, execute. Debug, select debug only. So here by default it is not um, with your insertion order. So I have inserted 30, 20 and 10, but it won't preserve any insertion orders. So based on the sorting orders by default it will be get inserted. And but like list you can use all the methods except the methods which using the index fields. So because set don't have a separate index. So this is how you can use the sets in Salesforce. Hello all, welcome to CRS Info Solutions. So in this session we are going to cover about maps. So map is kind of a collection which can accepts key and value pairs. So here key can be any data types and values can be any data types, and you can store integer, comma, string. If you wanted to store, you can store it. While using the methods, instead of add, you need to use put, and you can use put all, and you can use the empty, you can use size, so you can use contains key, and you can use if you want to remove any specific values inside the map, just supply the key name inside the remove method. It will just clear your values, and key set will just give you the list of keys, and values will just give you the list of values which is present inside the map. So let's see a small demo how to use it. So you can take this as an example. Right now in map, I'm storing the values called 30, which is a key, and 30, which is value, and 20, and instead of 20, I'm using 10, instead of 10, I'm using 10. So what the concept is, keys cannot be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. So here, if you are using values, it will it will give values. So like 10130, like it will give. If you use key set, it will give 10, comma 20, comma 30, like what are the keys available inside the map. Map values, I'll give elements inside key set. Just I'll execute. So this is how it will work. So initially we have stored the map values and we have printed it, and it is just a copy of map 1. We are just in map 1, whichever the values is there, we are just printing the values, and in same map 1 we are just printing the list of keys. So if you wanted to clear the map, you can use clear method. If you wanted to remove any specific keys, you can remove the you can use remove method. For example, if I wanted to remove any methods, I can go ahead and give the remove keyword, and I'll supply the key as 20. Here I'll give map 1. Here I'll, so let's go on and check it out. So here you can see this 20 is removed. So here 10 only one time is present, which is for this first one, not for the second one, because 20 is removed over here. This 20 and 20 both are removed. So if you wanted to see the clear output, let me go ahead and change this as 20, and I'll just execute one more time. See, 20 will not be there. So this is how you can utilize the map methods in Salesforce. So let's see you on another session. Thanks for watching this video.